Welcome to Miss Lovedoll's video on the types of reproductive processes. In our study of genetics, we know that parents pass their traits to the next generation, their children or their offspring, and we know that the code for these traits is carried in the DNA of the parents. But how does this work? What are the processes that occur in a living organism that enable it to produce the next generation? Well, that's the subject of this video. Before we get started, let's make sure you have your supplies. You're going to need your science notebook to take notes, a pencil, and some colored pencils. Are you ready? Okay, let's get started. How do we know if something is living or not? Scientists came up with 5 characteristics of all living things. Living things are made of cells. They maintain a stable internal environment. They respond to their environment, they need energy, and they can grow and reproduce. We're going to focus on the organism's ability to reproduce. Hey, how are those Cornell notes going? They might look like this by now. Press pause if you need to. All living things must be able to reproduce, otherwise the species would die out. Reproduction is the ability of an organism to make the next generation. There are 2 methods of reproducing, asexual and sexual. Asexual reproduction is the process of forming a new organism from a single parent. What types of organisms can do this? You probably have some in your house right now. Potatoes, for example. Each little eye on a potato is able to form a new plant, and those plants will be genetically identical to the original plant and produce genetically identical potatoes. This sweet potato has already started to grow new little plants. If we were to cut each one of these out and plant it, it would produce potatoes that are genetically identical to the original potato. Many plants and animals and microorganisms reproduce by asexual reproduction. Recently, a starfish at the Science Center lost an arm. The arm grew into a whole new starfish, and it's genetically identical to the original starfish. The advantages of asexual reproduction are that it's fast, and it doesn't require a male and a female organism to meet. But there's a disadvantage. The offspring are genetically identical to the parent. Therefore, there's no genetic diversity. That can be a problem if the original parent has a gene for cancer or a life-threatening condition. All of the offspring will be genetically exactly the same, and if it's a fatal problem, the offspring will suffer that fatality as well. There's another type of reproduction, and it's called sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is the process of forming a new organism from 2 parents, a male and a female. During the process of sexual reproduction, a sperm fertilizes an egg. Animals, plants, and fungi can reproduce sexually. Plants have an ovary and pollen, which is the same as the sperm. And of course, animals, like humans, require a male and a female to produce an offspring. In all of these cases, a new organism, a mushroom, a flower, or a human, is formed from the genetic material of each parent. The advantages of sexual reproduction are that it produces offspring that are genetically different from their parents. Genetic diversity makes a species more resilient to adverse conditions. The disadvantages are that it's more time-consuming, and it requires a male and a female organism to meet, and sometimes there are fewer offspring. There's another problem. Can you think of what it is? If we look at the DNA of a new organism, it will have the same number of chromosomes as all the members of its species. For example, humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. When a baby human is formed, he or she has 23 pairs of chromosomes. Crayfish have 100 pairs of chromosomes, and a baby crayfish will have 100 pairs of chromosomes. But how is that possible? If the new organism has chromosomes from both of its parents, wouldn't the new organism have twice as many as the parent? The answer is that a special process creates the egg and the sperm cells so that they contain half the chromosomes of the parent. And that process also ensures genetic diversity. So what is this special process? It's called meiosis. But that's the subject of another video. And now you know the types of reproductive processes.